How we doing, folks? Dave Brown here with the New Populist. Thank you for joining me again. Now, I have to make one more video about mega donor to the Republican Party, Miriam Adelson, because I have come across more information about her that I think is very, very interesting. And Miriam Adelson is somebody who I believe to be Israel first, not America first. And this is at a time when we are having this debate on the right about who really is America first. And there's the two factions. We have the Tucker Carlson side, who says our government is preoccupied with Israel and oftentimes put Israeli interest first. Then you have people like Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin, who attack people who point out this relationship as being anti-Semitic or anti-American. And they really get on their soapboxes and lecture all of us. And they tell us who is America first and us who is MAGA. Two guys who back in 2016 were never Trumpers. They got on board later. Yet now they're trying to tell us what is what. And I reject that completely. And in the case of Mark Levin, he's particularly nasty about it. He rants and raves like a lunatic, calling everybody Islamo-Nazis and anti-Semitic and Marxist and just losing his mind. Yet neither one of these guys, Shapiro or Levin, have said one word about one of the most influential donors to Donald Trump. And that is what I find to be very, very suspicious. And just as a reminder, here is what Donald Trump himself said about Miriam Adelson. So my appraisal of her being Israel first, it's not just me, it is the President of the United States. Listen to this.
You know, Miriam and Sheldon would come into the White House probably almost more than anybody outside of people that work there. And they were always after, and as soon as I'd give them something, always for Israel. As soon as I'd give them something, they'd want something else. I'd say, give me a couple of weeks, will you please? But I actually asked her, I'm going to get her in trouble with this, but I actually asked her once, I said, so Miriam, I know you love Israel. What do you love more, the United States or Israel? She refused to answer. That might mean Israel, I must say.
So according to Shapiro and Levin, I guess Donald Trump is anti-Semitic and hates America for pointing out that this mega donor, Miriam Adelson, who has given him hundreds of millions of dollars, came to his office almost every day asking for favors for not America, but Israel. Does that sound America first? Not at all. And to make matters worse, again, I mentioned the fact that she had this relationship with Jonathan Pollard, the spy, obviously not like a super personal one, but she actually wrote an article when he was released, praising it and praising him. So, an American donor praising this person who spied for Israel and damaged our national security, which I find to be absolutely despicable. But let me remind you what exactly Pollard did and what she's actually praising. So this is military.com. Hold on one second, let me get to it. Military.com. And it says here, when Jonathan Pollard was convicted of espionage in 1987, he became the first American to go to jail for life for passing secrets to a U.S. ally. The top secret information Pollard passed on to Israel is so vast and damaging. The complete list of files is itself top secret. He was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 30 years. There are few things both liberals and conservatives agree on these days, but keeping Pollard in prison for the rest of his life was one of them. Yet, he was released in 2015 and quickly made his way to Israel, where he received a hero's welcome. Among the most damaging intel Pollard is known to have given Israel information about is the VQ2 electronic surveillance system and the 10-volume radio and signal intelligence manual detailing the entire U.S. global listening profile, detailing what communications the National Security Agency was monitoring, from which countries, and what the U.S. priorities were. Some of the disclosures are said to have ended up in the hands of the Soviet Union, which many believe were traded by Israel to the USSR in exchange for the continued emigration of Soviet Jewish citizens to Israel. So, Mark Levin, he served in the Reagan administration. He always praises Reagan for his peace through strength and for bringing down the Soviet Union. So you think Mark Levin would hate a spy like Jonathan Pollard, who was giving secrets to Israel, who in turn was giving them to the Soviet Union. But have you heard Mark Levin talk about this? Nope, not a peep. So I mentioned Adelson writing an article about Jonathan Pollard, praising him. Well, here is the article written back in 2020 by Miriam Adelson after Pollard was released. And the article was titled, "Welcome Home, Jonathan. Jonathan Pollard deserves Israel's eternal gratitude, as well as its remorse for how long it took to bring him home." Jonathan Pollard has finally come home, and like many homecomings, this day is both happy and sad. This day was a very long time coming, decades in the making. The years of Jonathan's imprisonment and later his release under restrictions that did not allow him to leave New York were excruciatingly long. While his spirit never faltered and his Jewish pride never waned, his body weakened. This day is also bittersweet because, as joyous as Jonathan's homecoming is, the actions for which he was imprisoned had marred U.S.-Israel ties. Israel has never undermined its closest ally, except to save the Jewish people. Israel has learned its lesson, to which the fact that there has never been another case like Jonathan's attests. But the fact that this was an isolated case is exactly what sets it apart. After all, in every other aspect, Israeli-American relations are rooted in friendship and unconditional mutual trust. Now, I'll stop right there because there is so much information about Mossad and their operations and things that they have done to the United States, where they've crossed us, lied to us, cheated us. And every time this happens, we, the United States, we just turn the other cheek and just let it go. So this idea that we have this unconditional mutual trust is, in my opinion, absolutely preposterous. There was a former CIA case officer who, on recent podcast, talked about the fact that they could not allow the CIA Mossad agents to come inside the headquarters because they kept on trying to plant bugs. And so when they meet with the Mossad agents, they have to meet them at a third or another location outside of the CIA because there is no trust between Mossad and the CIA. So again, I completely reject her characterization of our relationship, but I'll continue. For our American friends, Jonathan is a memory best left to fade, especially at a time when President Donald Trump is showing the Jews in Zion doing kindness in spades. I guess she's not American. She's saying our American friends. I thought she was American. Well, she is, but again, clearly it seems her focus and priority is Israel, and she views herself more as an Israeli citizen. Jonathan deserves Israel's deepest and eternal gratitude. Like a wounded soldier returning from a long and difficult journey, he deserves every benefit and grant the state can offer to ensure he can live his life comfortably. At the same time, he deserves the right to live in a country that treats its ally with respect and wisdom, a country where sensitive matters are kept secret and whose heroes are humble. Jonathan is this type of hero, calm, collected, and confident that his place in Jewish history need no public relations. Let us honor him in the same vein, quietly, with a huge sigh of relief, with tears of remorse, and with a long and grateful hug. Miriam Adelson, her article about spy Jonathan Pollard. Does this sound America first? Are you comfortable with this person having such an influence on Donald Trump and his administration? To me, it's a joke. Imagine a Iranian American, somebody who had citizenship in Iran and America, a billionaire, dumping money into the Trump administration for favorable relations with Iran. How do you think Mark Levin would respond to that? He would probably have a heart attack on his radio show. He'd be so wound up. He would lose his mind. But when this happens with our greatest ally, not a peep. I'm actually surprised how few people talk about this, except for maybe on X. But again, they're going to lecture us on who's America first when this kind of garbage is going on, when Zionists are pouring money into a presidential campaign in 2024, hundreds of millions of dollars, primarily, and actually in the words of Donald Trump, only to help Israel, not the United States. And now we have word that she's going to give or put $20 million into a primary against Thomas Massie. Why? Because Thomas Massie is his position on taxes or on immigration? No, his position on Israel. Does this sound America first to you? That's all I'm saying. To me, it's very obvious. It's obnoxious. It's insulting to be lectured, to be browbeat, to be attacked by people who ignore this while claiming to have the moral high ground. It's insulting. And if you are America first, if you are MAGA, you should not stand for this, and you should speak up against it, because we are not going to have this great America First movement come to a conclusion where we return America back to its rightful place until we deal with this lobby in this country that has other priorities. While that's still there, we're going to always be in this situation where we're involving ourselves in things that aren't to our benefit. Wars, conflicts that don't help Americans. And this has been the case now, unfortunately, for decades. But right now, we're finally sort of breaking through. Even regular people are starting to see it now. And that's why a lot of people on that pro-Israel side are getting very nervous and making all sorts of unfounded accusations against people, calling people anti-Semitic and anti-American. I find that to be despicable. And their allegiances aren't with America. Their allegiance is somewhere else. And they have no business ever calling anybody else anti-American. We're America first. They're not. And we need to keep repeating that until we finally get things back the way they should be. Well, that is it for now. If you are new to my channel, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.